been thinking?
I'm Sean Broudeseth, and I've been thinking about the yuck factor. Now, before I tell you what that is, I want to tell you what I'm seeing at the moment in churches. I'm exposed to different churches, but I wouldn't presume to say this is happening across the world, but I'm seeing enough of it coming up that I wonder where it's all heading. I'm seeing quite a resistance, particularly to spiritual gifts like prophecy and tongues, and a resistance to expressions of faith like unrestrained worship. Things that are more difficult to accept if you feel like you're not quite in control. I stand with anyone who says there must be order in the church, with anyone who says, hey, we're not a circus, man. But I also see a resistance towards outward expressions that carry with them some kind of risk of, hey, well, are we perfectly in control here? I've seen people really struggling with prophecy. I've seen them really struggling with tongues. I'm not presuming to solve that now. That's something that's got to be gone into in depth. But I want to mention the yuck factor. Now, the yuck factor was a hypothesis that was created by a preacher called R.T. Kendall. It wasn't just a preacher, he was a pastor. He was actually pastor of Westminster Chapel. He took over from Martin Lloyd-Jones in 1977 to 2002. He was there for 25 years, an American pastor. He was about his bona fides as a conservative, reformed theologian pastor are about as strong as you can get. His credentials are about as good as you can get in the reformed conservative camp. And yet R.T. Kendall at the same time was around in the 1990s when things were getting a little bit out of hand in places like Toronto. I'm not defending everything that happened in Toronto, Airport Fellowship, the Vineyard Church during the 1990s. There were some things that were weird and in the flesh, but there were some legitimate moves of God. He was around for those type of things. In fact, his own wife was healed by the very controversial faith healer, Rodney Howard-Browne. His wife was healed instantly by a prayer read by Rodney Howard-Browne. So when R.T. Kendall says something, he's holding both sides. And this is what he said, this hypothesis called the yuck factor. He said, God will often offend the mind to reveal the heart. God will do something that makes the mind go, oh, what's going on, to reveal the heart underneath. It doesn't mean that everything that's happening, we must leave it because it could be God offending the mind. There are things that are clearly unscriptural and wrong. But we should be careful, said R.T. Kendall, because when you see something that makes you say, yuck, you should be very careful and say to yourself, what if God is in this in order to reveal the hearts, to reveal my heart, for me to offend my mind in order to reveal my heart? Well, I've seen an overreaction to things like prophecy, where we've seen prophetic words given that were out of line, that were done wrong, that people on screens going, I prophesy over this person here, this person there, like I'm doing now, filming, going, I prophesy over someone in another part of the country, and there's no accountability, there's no nothing. For example, tongues being used, interpretation of tongues, where you're not sure, is this legitimate, is this genuine, where are we finding this thing? Expressions in worship, people using their bodies to dance before the Lord, and you're not sure, where's the line here? Well, I want to say to us, I'm certainly not in the camp of throwing my mind away and accepting everything. But I would say we need to be careful. Be careful, because sometimes the thing that makes you say yuck is what God is doing. And we need to, with humility, go to God and say, Lord, what is this? And even speak to each other. The yuck factor. R.T. Kendall, I believe it was one of his biggest contributions to popular Christian thought. And I think we need to listen to a man who has been on both sides and who is leaving room for things he doesn't understand, and saying, God, if it's you, I don't care what in me says yuck. If it's you, I'll take it. I pray God would help us be the same.